Okay, so if we're looking now in the guide, we try to address each of those different systems. And so if we're looking now at a spanning system for floors. So here we've got 3 options for floors. The first is we can have a floor or joist deck, and the joist can be over the top of the beams or running into the side of the beams, so there are options. We've got massive timber as a floor system. We've also then got concrete and timber composites. So we can make a floor system then where we've got timber and wood working together, and that's providing us a system for the option. We're providing with each of those then basic span ranges for things like the joist or for panels or for the concrete and timber. Now again, remember, always come back, we're dealing with regular options here. We could probably go further, but we're not trying to do gymnastics with this too much. And then we're giving common span to depth ratios for systems that you may use in these cases. Now, if we take massive timber as our example in our project, is that we would then go to the detail then in the guide of massive timber option. So here's our massive timber drawing here on the left, and across the top we then have regular beam options, because obviously if we've got a CLT panel, we've got to put it on a beam. The beam's going to be on a column, so the beam we're regarding as part of the spanning system, and there's various things that we can use then as our beam. Each of the icons then ties up with something we'll describe later on, because we need to describe what glulam is, and that comes later. So if we've got our regular panel options there, we've got a range of things we can do. We can use CLT, we can use GLP, which is a glue laminated panel. So we're not cross-laminating, we're just face laminating. We've got an NLT, which is a nail laminated timber. We've got an LVL, which if we've got it thick enough and our spans aren't large and aren't too big, we can actually use those as the panels. Or we have a stress laminated panel, which from the notes you can see are generally used for things like bridge decks. They're not commonly used in buildings, but they are an option. So if we say we're going to have a CLT system for our floor panels, or we want to investigate a CLT option, we would then move to see what our indicative spans are if we were using a CLT floor panel. So we have a series of guidance tables in there for material of particular size, and then in particular application, to give you guidance as to about how far that stuff will span. So if we look at this in a bit more detail, is that if we say we're going to have a 200 millimetre CLT panel, or that we want to go somewhere between 4 or 5 metres, or maybe about 5 metres, we've got a multi-res option. Sorry, in our case we've got an office. We want to go a simple 5 metre span, something of that order. Then we're going to know we're going to need a CLT panel of about 200 millimetres. Now, of course, this isn't optimised, but again, we're not into detailed design, we're only into conceptual design at this stage. So this is then providing us enough information to give a reasonable estimate of how much we're going to need to go a particular distance. Now, the diagrams, the span tables are particularly fuzzy. Well, they're not fuzzy, but they're particularly unclear, and because we didn't want to have anything up there where someone was scaling it off and says, oh, it's actually 5.2. Therefore, we'll actually use that as our basis. It's there to give you a feel so that later on you then in detailed design you can come through and work out what exactly the sizes are.